Okay, hello everybody. I'm Nolan Stoker here with the Left to Right podcast to cover the Alberta Election 2023. Today is election day, and in various hours the polls will be closing across the province of Alberta. Joining us today is Aidan Mackey, and he'll be joining us to discuss the Alberta election. How's it going?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. It's good to be here.
Okay. So we'll start off with what were your thoughts going into the race? Was the Conservatives in a comfortable position? Were the NDP in a comfortable position? And if so, what has changed since the start of this race?
I think since the start of the race, I think Albertans, they were really kind of unsure, and especially they were unsure in the sense of what the campaign would look like and what the different leaders, what their policies would look like. And obviously with Danielle, the current incumbent, kind of dropping in as lead. So I think she's being the incumbent now for maybe 6 or 7 months. So people kind of haven't really gotten to know her, I think, as much as they would like to say as previously as Jason Kenney, because he was the leader kind of for about a year. And so people they're really, I think since the debates, the numbers have solidified for the UCP because they've had that chance to see Danielle on the screen and kind of hear from her what her policies are, or what she would want to continue or bring back in that sort of sense to the legislature. Now going into, as you said, going into the election, I think it was kind of more shaky, and especially Calgary. So that's what the key will be tonight, because as you said, there will be probably, I'm guessing, maybe around 10 toss-ups. I think at least 6 to the NDP and 7 to the UCP for sure. And then you kind of have that all those toss-ups in between there. So like a lot in the north and a lot in the center. So a lot of central Calgary and then up in the north. So it should be interesting to kind of see how voters how they'll turn out for either party tonight.
Okay, and I know you are a leaning Conservative, so I'll ask you this: what stands out in Danielle Smith's Conservative platform this election?
Well, I think what stands out for me, I mean, this is just talking from experience and from what I see, because I don't live in Alberta full time, but I think what really a lot of people really like about Danielle is she's very open. She's a great listener. But the policy that really stand out for a lot of Albertans, and for me, being a conservative, is that she really wants to tackle the affordability crisis. She has, especially being in Alberta, right? Because with gas and oil prices up, people are really, you kind of have that leeway with taxes and with how much kind of people have to pay towards the government. Obviously, being higher federally and then lower provincially in Alberta, but so people are really, they do appreciate their taxes being cut. I mean, who doesn't appreciate their taxes being cut? They're really looking forward to kind of her energy file and her energy policies, because she has said that she would like to build a few more corridors, maybe some up to Yukon, some to BC, some to Saskatchewan, and even some to Ontario or further east of Ontario. So those are some policies that I think people would really look at. But also, in a sense, I mean, in Calgary, you have the new arena deal, and then some other policies like on the side. Like for me, she's really transparent on what she is like and what she wants to do. But what really people are kind of standing out for her, though, is just affordability, energy, and kind of getting resources to market, I think.
Okay. And I know that I was taking a look at this earlier, and at dissolution and before the writ dropped, there wasn't, like, it was only the UCP and the NDP in their legislature. So do you believe that the Alberta Party, the Liberals, or even the Greens can pick up any seats and make a difference in the legislature this time around?
Well, actually, I did mention, I did forget to mention this before, but healthcare is another really big issue, and that's what some of the Alberta Party and the Liberal Party has addressed this as well. I did forget to mention that, and that's what people like about Danielle as well, because of her plan. She's really turned it around. But to your question, yes. So I think the Alberta Party, in a sense, they haven't really kind of gone. I don't want to say they haven't really gained much traction this election. I think last time I checked, they had, don't quote me on this, maybe there's under 30 candidates for sure. So they didn't have a full slate, say, like last time, right? And especially being in between, like, I don't really see them picking up any seats. Like, I think where they're now, one seat to pay attention to is Calgary Elbow, because there is a really strong Alberta Party kind of movement in that riding. But in your sense, no, I do not think that there will be any other kind of Liberal, Wild Rose, or Alberta Party candidates in that sense. So I think it's just going to be either UCP or NDP, sorry. But now in some Calgary seats, you may see a split vote between the NDP and the Greens, possibly.
Okay. And okay, so um and the polls have been narrow this entire race, but UCP seems to actually be leading in the polls towards the end of this race. So do you believe the endorsements from different politicians, for example, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper and current conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, have helped her boost, or do you think it's just her overall policy that is helping her get boosts in these polls?
I think overall it is her policies, because people have been kind of really opening up to her message of fixing healthcare in the province, tackling the affordability crisis. But other than that, but obviously with the endorsement of former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, it has kind of really backed up her message then, in the sense, because they knew that Stephen Harper was a really strong leader. He can be trusted, and then he in Canada was really respected on the world stage, and Alberta really contributes to building a stronger Canada. So that in that sense, it does help with Prime Minister Harper. And with Pierre, a lot of conservatives, he is, of course, being conservative, so I am kind of favored to say this, but I think that people are really liking his message compared to, say, Justin Trudeau's or Jagmeet Singh's in Alberta. So people are really opening up to the message that conservatives are united, and that they are really, we're pushing for change here, and it's really keeping, we really do want to keep Alberta blue.
Okay. So like you said earlier, you believe it would only be a NDP or UCP. So if the other parties aren't going to win any seats, there's not really much point in majority minority status there. So
Yes, I can't see a minority in any sense either way. I don't see any candidates kind of just, then again, like I don't see any Alberta Party candidates kind of rising above anybody else, or Greens. So I think it's going to be a majority either. It could go either way, but as you said, the polls have favored the UCP since I'm saying kind of since the debate. That's what I've kind of been watching. But I do think that it will be a UCP majority. It's just a matter of how big it's going to be.
do you have any prediction? Do you think will be a landslide? Do you think will be various seats? I think it's four. Is that 41 or 40? Is that the, I think
44 for
the
majority.
44? Think will be 45 to 43, or do you think will be 80
Yeah,
to whatever?
it could go either way, right? Like it's really interesting, because Calgary is really the key here, because people have been really putting a lot of, and like even if you look over the campaign, like both NDP and UCP leaders have spent the majority of the time in Calgary trying to solidify their base and get their message out to every single elector in Alberta. But it could be like I'm predicting between maybe 51 to 54 seats for the UCP. But then again, like Jason Kenney really did upset the electorate last time, right? Because he was predicted at like I think 49% last time, and then he went to like 57. So polls, like I don't usually trust polls. Like I look at them, so I kind of like a general sense of how they're going to turn out. But I think it could go either way for Calgary. That's how big of a battleground it can be.
Okay. And do you think the Alberta Sovereignty Act has anything to do in decisions of these voters? And also, Premier Danielle Smith's new promise of her next bill one being, I think it's it has something to do with tax cuts or some sort. Do you think that it could that has anything to do with the people's votes, her previous Alberta Sovereignty Act and her possible new bill one?
I think with the Sovereignty Act, like people were very unsure of it during the leadership race, and up to the point that it was passed, because and the NDP has spread a lot of misinformation, disinformation when it comes to that bill. I think because, as they've said, they said it scares away opportunity, and it's just what's I don't I'm not typically NDP, so I don't know what the words they typically use for, but I think in that sense, like the bill to date, it hasn't been used yet. But for instance, say Ottawa wants to, I mean, the premier, the incumbent, has kind of mentioned that if Ottawa were to step on Alberta's feet, say with energy emissions, that they want to cap emissions in the province, then the Sovereignty Act will be used in that sense. To my knowledge, that's, don't quote me on this, that's what I've kind of seen a little bit. And that's what they've kind of talked about. Of course, like it hasn't been used yet, so people don't really kind of know the specific outliers of it, like kind of how it will, let's just say, kind of work in that sense. It is supposed to work like that's the legal. She has had legal experts kind of weigh in, and it is legally binding. I will say that. But I think when it comes to the voters, though, I think people were really unsure of it in the first, but kind of they've warmed up to the idea of it, because as we've seen these past couple of weeks, that Ottawa has really pushed back against the provinces, right? They've kind of stepped into provincial jurisdiction, and the Sovereignty Act will be used to kind of repel Ottawa in that sense.
Okay, and so lastly, will you be up late last tonight watching the results? And if so, do you believe that it will be a quick result, or do you think it will drag late into the night, early morning?
Yeah, so I'll probably be up till the very end of it tonight. So that could probably, I think results start coming in around 10:30. So I think now last election it ended at about 90 minutes because there was a major landslide. But I think tonight it is a lot closer. So we could potentially maybe see some results go into tomorrow morning. But it depends on how close it will be, right? Because Calgary, nobody knows for certain which way it will go until the actual election day. Like up to I think it was up till Thursday or Friday, like already like 350,000 Albertans casted their advance vote. So it is a pretty tight vote, I would say. So either way, it could go either way at this point. But I think majority of the seats we will see kind of come back tonight. Like as I said, like most of the Danielle can count. She can count on a lot of the rural seats going towards her. Now, Lesser Slave Lake and Banff Kananaskis are two ridings that could potentially go their way. Lesser Slave Lake is leading UCP, and then Banff Kananaskis is leading Orange. But I think it's just a few percentage points. So those could contribute to, as I said, to her win or to her loss. But I think, as I said, like Calgary is looking since the debate really blew, and people are really kind of really what's the word I want to use here? They kind of started listening a little bit more and kind of hearing what she has to say, and they've been kind of really positive. They've been positive towards her and the UCP's messages.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. Hopefully, we can have you back sometime to discuss other matters regarding provincial or federal politics. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Nolan. It was great to be here. Thank you.